there's a real method to the madness. Some people think, coaches that kind of give their guys some creative freedom aren't really coaching, and I totally disagree. I mean, you have to be confident in what you do in practice, in your strategies that you have and your plan, and then you got guys that can play. You got to let them play.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we're joined by the head boys basketball coach at John Paul II High School, Dan Lee. In 24 years as head coach, Coach Lee has a career record of 541 wins and 198 losses. He's led the Cardinals to two TAP 6A state championships in 2020 and 2022. In 2020, they set a school record for wins with a 40-1 record. Coach Lee was named District Coach of the Year in 2020 and 2021, as well as TABC Private School Coach of the Year in 2020 and 2022. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
All right, here we go. You got me now?
Hey, what's up, Coach?
Hey, not much. How you doing, Matt?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me.
Absolutely. I've actually listened to a few of your pods before, starting this summer, and I'm a fan. And I was wondering if I was going to get an invite. I'm happy to be here,
Coach. You're big time. You know you're going to get an invite here for sure.
All right, I appreciate you having me. I really do.
No, but I love what you said in your email about how there is a lot of talk about culture, and a lot of people, throw it around in some ways. And obviously we all have a culture that we're fighting for. But I think the questions that you picked, especially coming off of the year that you've had, and with all is it 26 years of experience, or is it more?
I'm starting my 29th this year.
29th years. So 29 years of experience. Can't wait to dive into these questions. And again, on a Sunday night, thank you so much for your time. What's the best thing that you borrowed lately?
All right, and I'm sure you're the same way. You get inundated with emails from different coaching sites and different newsletters and whatnot. But I look at these and got onto one that Cody Topper from Memphis was talking about, and it was a 5-out, video, and then talking about transition. And one point he had that I thought was really good was talking about your big man, your rim runner. So his point was, we all say we want to rim run. How many times do you actually convert a rim run into a layup or a dunk or whatever? And he said, more often than that, you just run down there with the defender and clog the lane. So his coaching point on that was with those guys at Memphis is they teach them that, yes, if you're ahead, continue to rim run. Hopefully you can convert. If your man's ahead of you, pull up at the 3-point line and come set a drag screen for the guy bringing up the ball, especially if your man's sitting in the lane, because defensive coaches sprint back to the paint, right? And if that man's sitting in the lane and you come set a drag screen, you're basically in a 2-on-1 situation with a real good ball handler and playmaker. So we've started playing with that a little bit, and I've been getting my bigs to do that, and we've had some real good success early on in the season so far with that. And it makes all the sense in the world to me. I don't know why I haven't really grasped that concept before, but we've kind of latched onto it and had some really good success with
it. Those moments are special when you've been doing something for so long, and you're right. You said something at the beginning. We all get those emails. We all hear of new things. And a guy, one guy I was talking to made a comment. He's like, you can't do it all. You can't try it all. You can't listen to it all. And so you choose and you be very selective of those things. But that point that Cody made, I think right on the money. Like we've been having rim runners for so long for the sake of having a rim runner, maybe because it's how we were coached, or we heard some really smart people do it. But I don't know. I've asked that same question. How many times do I actually get from passing it up the floor, a finish right off of that rim run?
Well, and who's usually a rim runner? It's a big man who's rebounding around the basket on the defensive end. He's got to run 94 feet. It doesn't happen as often as we would hope or we would like.
And we want that ball. Most offenses, the goal is to get the ball to the paint, to that area where you're going to force defenses to have to choose, and you can find things out of it. So when you have that rim runner, you're right. Not just the defender being there, another body being there that congests it, and then good guards that want to be playmakers can't. But you have that guy slow down to set that ball screen, and all of a sudden now guarding ball screens is hard enough. Trying
It
to
is.
guard in transition,
It
that's
is.
just a whole other animal too.
And then if he's skilled enough, and our big guys can do it to some degree, they can do a ghost screen and hit a three. They can do a twist screen and mix it up what they do up at the top, and so it puts pressure on the defense. It really does.
Just because of all your experience and success, what are some other things that maybe you had always done and then just for some reason figured it out, or read or heard something and made a shift that you thought, like you said before, man, I don't know why we didn't do this a long time ago?
Matt, I have totally changed my philosophy in the last 3 years. I went to, I had taken 1 year off. I was at Cistercian for 20 years in Irving, went down to Houston Christian for 5, and then took a year off, came back up here to the Metroplex, which is what I consider home. Um, was very blessed to inherit a talented team at John Paul my first year. And I went to a coaching clinic before the season and heard David Peeler from Highland Park speak. And David's awesome. And I stole a lot from David. And he recommended a book called Sprawl Ball, and really got me thinking about the analytics of the game, the efficiency of the game, and just started working with my guys on that. And kind of just changed the way that I coach, and changed the way we approach the 3-point shot, and changed the way we space the floor. I've been, for the longest time, I was a traditional 3-out, 2 in, 3-out guy. For a long time I ran the Kansas Bill Self high low and had some success, but the game's changed a lot in the
Yeah.
even the last 5 years from the top down, and so I got a lot out of that, and then I had a team that was very talented that could execute that style of play. And 2 years ago, we led the state in scoring. We went 40-1 and won the state championship, and it was great, and I was sold. But the old saying of "can't teach an old dog new tricks" it did not apply. I'm 52 years old, and I've totally changed the way I coached in the last 3 years.
And I think it's really smart, the way that you have adapted and changed your game to the talent that you have, playing in space and giving them options and room to be creative. Like, man, that makes a lot of sense.
There's a real method to the madness. Some people think, coaches that kind of give their guys some creative freedom aren't really coaching, and I totally disagree. I mean, you have to be confident in what you do in practice, in your strategies that you have and your plan, and then you got guys that can play. You got to let them play.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to deal with that sometimes. I have a point guard right now that can throw an 80-foot pass with his left hand, and he'll fire it down the court, and he'll fit it in a window 6 inches, and it results in a layup. He made one turnover in a game Saturday night, and he said, "Coach, my bad, my bad." I said, "No, you're 9 out of 10 on that for 18 points. Let's go ahead and keep doing that."
Yeah.
You got to allow them to make some mistakes and grow, and it's going to pay off in the long run, because they're going to be able to act independently on their own on the court and do what they do. And if they're talented players, they're going to succeed.
Yeah, I think you have a really special culture there when you've got guys that are making mistakes, acknowledging them, but then they know that you're going to reinforce that confidence, like you're going to help protect their confidence in a way. Because so many times we, as coaches, it's that people think it's our job to give players confidence, and yes and no. I mean, confidence comes from where their work ethic and how much time they put in. But then when you come in as, "Hey, I know you can make that pass, fire it again."
Yes.
That's huge.
Better not pass it up when you get the next opportunity. That's
I
right.
love that. You mentioned Peeler's name. So when I was at McKinney as a varsity assistant, me and Wes Watson had the pleasure of getting to play against Highland Park's teams. And golly, he's so great. I did. I reached out to him to come on, and he is one of the most humble guys I've ever met. And said, "Matt, I just don't know if I've got anything, or that if anybody would care." Well, I mean, you're living like he helped you
Yeah.
to change your style of play even after all of your. So David Peeler, if you do happen to listen, we'd love to have you on.
I've told him we've played him the last 2 years, and I've told him, hey, we credit to you for a lot of the stuff we do. He gave a bunch of drills for 3-point shots at that clinic that I've stolen and used, and our kids love them. And we keep records and we compare, and from year to year to year, and it's just I got a lot from him, and he is one of the most humble coaches you'll ever run across. But he's brilliant.
And we're going to get him on. I think because of you right there,
I'll
we'll
do
get
my
him.
part to push him that direction.
What opportunities for learning and growth have you recently found? What are some things that you're kind of into?
Very unique this year. So 2 years ago, I had a really good team, but not any 4 stars, 5 stars, guys that were drawing a lot of college attention. I mean, we might have had 1 or 2 mid-majors that came to watch a practice. Last year, we had none because of COVID, and I had the dudes last year that would have attracted a lot of attention. This year, it's opened back up. I counted 43 different schools that have rolled through to watch practice, 25 of them being Power 5 Division I. And I took that opportunity to visit with those guys. I asked them questions. I asked them for feedback. They would sit there and just kind of watch practice, and they like to see how the kids interact, how they take coaching, a lot more than just can they make a jump shot.
Yeah.
It's what they do, how they carry themselves and conduct themselves. But I would ask them very specific things about our offense, defense, pick and roll coverage. What do you do here? What do you do there? And I just picked their brains. And so that was a real plus this year that I haven't been able to do the last 2 years. And I've also started trying to go to practices. I don't know about you, but every year I say, I'm going to go to some college practice every year. Well, this year, my girlfriend lives in Houston. I was going to see her, and I said, you know what? I'm going to call up Sampson. I called up his son, Coach Sampson, and hey, I'm going to be in town on Friday. He said, Coach, it's our first day of practice. Come on out. So I went down early, went and watched U of H practice, and boy, that was fun. Those guys get after it. There's no accident that they were one of the top defensive and rebounding teams in the country last year and made the Final Four. And then a week or two after that, A&M did a coach's clinic, Coach Buzz, and one of my players from last year is at A&M. So I'm going down there. I jumped in the car, drove down, and went to the clinic. Got to visit with Manny. Got to watch a practice, and really, I've always said if you can pick up one thing when you go to listen to a speaker or go watch practice, one thing, it's been a major success. And I definitely picked up more than one thing at both of those events. So, picking the brains of college coaches, I think is really valuable because they're outstanding at their crafts, and we can all learn a lot from them.
And that's a really cool reminder. I mean, we at Faith haven't had the same amount of attention coaches coming in, but what a great reminder though to ask for feedback. I think so many times when I've had those opportunities, I've really just talked about the kid, the player. What'd you see? What questions do you have, or how can I help in any way? But I love that idea of, hey, Coach, while I have you, what can we be doing better? Because you're right. I mean, that we have to continue to learn and have a growth mindset. And when you have those guys in your gym, and have their attention, take advantage.
Use it. It's a fresh set of eyes. Sometimes they notice something that we don't. When you see it every day, sometimes somebody else's perspective can be very helpful and very valuable.
What's the favorite practice that you've attended all time? Favorite coach that you've watched their team practice? And man,
it might be Sampson.
Yeah.
It was their first day, so it was a lot of rolling out the ball, loose ball drills, rebound. One kid ran into a ladder and a rebound because they had no out of bounds, and there's just the energy that they had was infectious. I mean, they would run over. They were doing a charge drill, and a guy would get hammered, and 8 guys would run over and pick him up. They were just really, really high energy, and he had it. It was kind of funny. So I got there and I went into the Fertitta Center, and the girls were practicing. I thought, okay, well, the boys would be right after him. And about 30 minutes later, nobody showed up. So I called, and they were like, oh, we're over here in the practice gym. I'll send a GA to come get you. Coach didn't want it in the big arena because it was day one. He wanted it intimate, tight, and it was a tight arena, like one row of chairs for us to sit at and watch, and our toes were touching the court. So it got loud. the energy was just palpable. It was bouncing off the walls, and I loved seeing that. And the coaches were so passionate and getting after it. It was really exciting to see that at such a high level how energetic they are and passionate they are about practice, routine practice.
I think it's a great reminder too for us not to allow ourselves to become kind of stagnant or stale in what we do, and for our as head coaches and our assistant coaches to continue to bring it every day. Because you're right, I think sometimes unless you like you went and saw it, you think that at that level they just have amazing players that just make amazing plays, but there are those programs out there that they're special. And with Coach Drew down at Baylor, like they're that same. They got music, there's high fiving, and the energy. It feels like a party, going on while they're really working hard. And obviously with Buzz, and a great reminder for us, especially as our season now, we're kind of getting into routine. We're about a month in of practice, and don't allow that energy to slip.
Right.
Keep it going.
That's right. Absolutely. And honestly, those guys don't necessarily shoot any better than us. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and they play really hard.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson. I also heard Coach Beard, who I've come to know because one of my guys is there. He recruited him when he was at Tech and took him to Texas. But he had something the other day on Twitter that I loved, and I shared with my team. He said it's a difference on what you're willing to do, what you're capable of doing, and what you're willing to do. Everyone on this team's capable for diving for loose balls, drawing charges, boxing out, all of those little things. What are you willing to do? And I thought that was awesome. And I shared that with my team, that every one of you is capable of doing X, Y, Z. Are you willing to do X, Y, Z to win a game?
Man, what an awesome point right there. And I saw that firsthand. I remember looking around at practice or even in games, wondering how am I actually getting playing time right now? Because when I look at these guys that I'm around, they're bigger, faster, stronger, more skilled, can do more things. But are they willing to go as far with their body and to sacrifice as much? And yeah, for any players or parents that are listening and their son has the aspirations to be at those high levels, he's right on the money. Like, what are you willing to give and sacrifice? Love that. That gets me fired up right there.
They're all supremely talented at that level.
Yeah.
But what are they willing to do? Absolutely.
Yeah. The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. What's your favorite shooting game?
Well, I'm going to give you two here because one's more of type of a scrimmage that I love, and I got it from Mike Neighbors, University of Arkansas women's coach. Has some great stuff on YouTube. Has a great newsletter. It's called Quick Strike. The kids love it. So unfortunately, we don't have a shot clock yet. Hopefully, it's coming. But they do, and what they play is they set that shot clock at 30 seconds, and as soon as you take possession, it starts counting down. And whenever you score, you get the amount of points that's left on the clock. So if you score in 8 seconds, you get 22 points. 5 seconds, 25 points. So it's in your best interest to move fast. That's why it's called Quick Strike. But if you just take a bad shot and don't make it, it's no benefit to you. So we go to 150, and it's up and down. I don't stop for anything unless somebody breaks a leg. We're not stopping. And so it's conditioning too, but it's teaching them how to play really fast, but also maintain some level of efficiency with the shot selection, and getting good shots off. And the kids love Quick Strike. That's probably, people say, hey, how do you maintain your integrity offensively when you're playing so fast? And that's, if I could name one thing to do that. Love the drill.
Coach, I've already gotten a lot out of our talk, in just a few minutes here. That might be, for me personally, because we say we like to play fast and we like to shoot, and not just shoot quickly, but the best shot as fast as possible. But you're right, fast and out of control, that's not special. Slow and in control, that's not special. What's special is fast and in control, and that's a game that the shots and the what type of selection that they choose is really valued the right way. So,
Hmm.
Coach, thank you for sharing that one. Tomorrow, the
You look it
Lions
up on
will be
YouTube,
playing it.
watch Arkansas do it, and get kind of get a good feel for it, and put it in. I think you guys will love it, and
Yep.
it trains us as coaches to be hands off.
Yeah.
You got to be hands on, and it only takes like five. I mean, depending on how hot you get, it can be a 5 minute scrimmage. Um, but just let them go. I mean, I cheer for them. We call out the score and we try to hype it up and make it fun. But I don't do any coaching. We're not doing X's and O's. I'm letting them play.
So, made bucket, just to explain, made bucket, does the game pause while clock resets, or they
No,
get it in, they go?
we don't have a shot clock.
Yep.
My assistant counts in his head.
Okay.
Just
So you just have like a clock kind of going down,
yeah,
and you're just, when they started that possession.
that's right.
And okay.
And so my manager's on the scoreboard, and my assistant will say 21, 23. And if he's off a second, I don't care. No big deal. And
Yeah.
I will, if somebody has 128, they're going to get 21 or less, unless it's a really fast shot, because I want the game to let the other team have a chance to come back. I had a couple of kids call me out on it, but usually they don't even notice. So that's my favorite competitive scrimmage.
I can't wait to hear the shooting one after that. I can't wait.
We've got a lot, and
Yeah.
at least half of them are from Peeler. But one I got from the University of Texas, and it's similar to some that we have, but they do it a little differently. They call it Ray Allen drill. And the reason I got it is one of my Jalen Tyson, who's a freshman there, set their record this summer doing it. So it's a 3-point. Most of our drills are 3-point shooting drills, and they involve the 5 spots: the 2 corners, 2 slots or wings, and top of the key. So Ray Allen, you got to make 2 in a row from the first corner, 2 in a row from the wing, 2 in a row from the top, 2 in a row opposite wing. Then you get to the far corner, spot 5, you make 2 in a row. Then you got to make 2 in a row for spot 6 in the far corner. So it's spots 5 and 6. Then you come back around to 10, and you just we start the clock at 0 and go up. So whenever you complete, you're making 2 in a row at 10 different spots. Whatever the time is, that's your score. So Jalen did it in June, his first month at UT, and made 20 in a row and set their record at, I think it was 1 minute and 2 seconds. So our record's 132, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Kid did it this year. But that's one of my favorites, because it's, you start at 0 and count up, and hey, it's make or miss. You got to be consistent. You can't make one, miss one, make one, miss one. You'll never get around in any kind of a solid time.
You're right. Inner rows are what's special.
That's right.
And that's what we got to train. If we're talking about training shooters, and we want them to have mental toughness and ability, that goldfish mentality, like Ted Lasso says, to get past it. Inner rows. But what I like about that game, I mean, there's a lot of games that are similar, but the fact that the time, like I've played those games where we start at 2 minutes and you have to finish it by then. And if you don't, you're done. This allows even lesser shooters, hypothetically, to go for 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get it done. I like that.
4. We cap it.
You cap it? Okay, that's good.
Usually everybody gets it done in 4.
Yeah.
But what it does is it allows everybody to set their own personal record.
Yeah.
The kid, Coach, I got 258. Hey, that's your best, right? Yes. Awesome. You
celebrate
set your record
that
today.
Yeah.
Now you got another record to shoot for next time. So we have team records, but I also try to keep track, because, I've got 2 or 3 guys that are the best shooters, but the other ones, I still want them getting better and improving. And so we try to keep track of theirs as well, and give them an attaboy when they set their own PR.
How do you use social media to enhance your program?
Man, that's come so far in the last few years. It's huge. It's huge with our kids. We try to celebrate our kids as much as we can. We celebrate when they get offers to go to college offers, certainly when they, signing day or when they commit. We have an SID at JP2. He's one of our assistant football coaches, and he's full-time SID. He does a fantastic job with all of our athletic social media. Wow. And then we have our own basketball Twitter that's specifically for basketball. And, we try to keep up with scores, and every game we'll post, and where's our next game, and all the general information. But I try to put in different things too to celebrate the kids. When we set team shooting drill records or individual, I'm going to put it on our Twitter and tag that kid and make him feel special and let everybody see what he's doing. So we definitely try to do that, but we have also been getting outside people, and I'm trying my best to use them, videographers, guys that go to the games, that cover put them on Twitter, Instagram, what have you. I always get them in free if they ever ask. I've had a couple of guys, hey, can I come do some of your practice time and put it on? Absolutely. Just go over a few points with them that I want to make sure that they're aware of when they come in.
Yeah.
Any exposure we can get, kids love it. And I want kids to get that exposure, and I want kids to want to come play at John Paul. And that's a
Yeah.
big part of it. I've had that comment from some families that my son's school doesn't do anything for my son. And we see what you do. We love that. Last year I had a young man that has his own company ask if he did a YouTube thing, day in the life of a baller, and he wanted to do it on Manny Obaseki. And he was like, kid's only like 19 years old. So he called me, can I come to a practice? I said, absolutely. Saturday morning, we're having a shoot. Come on. And he videoed the whole practice, but he had also done some shots with Manny at home and at school and different things, and put together a 20-minute piece. It was really nice, but it featured our team. It showed us some of our highlights of our game against, I know your friend Jeff over at Prestonwood. We were playing them that night. And so he was over there covering the game and got some of those clips in. So I'm never going to say no to somebody that wants to cover our team as long as they follow some basic parameters and do it the right way. I do a little background work, do my homework, but a lot of coaches are uncomfortable with people coming to their practice. I embrace it. Come on, any publicity is pretty much good publicity for us.
And I think you're right on the money with all of that, and just want to celebrate you for kind of that attitude that you've chosen to take towards social media, especially with your program. I can't remember the guy that I was listening to, but it was probably 10, 12 years ago. It was a podcast, and he just said if coaches aren't using, either directly or indirectly, maybe through a team thing, if they're not using social media to celebrate and enhance their program, then they're behind. That's right. And I'm probably a lot like you. I don't like to ever think or hear that I'm behind in something. Right. And so it kind of, I don't think you can really go too much, especially when your heart's in the right place and you're trying to celebrate the guys. Question for you is, especially because of the caliber of players that you have, do you ever have to worry about the balance between that individual attention that you're giving and the team dynamic success? Any friction with that ever with posting things?
You definitely have to be cognizant of it. And, we're always going to celebrate the team first and foremost. But I talk to the guys constantly about, hey, we celebrate each other's accomplishments. And I'm not going to slow down on celebrating one kid just to not hurt someone else's feelings.
Yep.
We should all be happy for each other. And the more we achieve individually, the more we're going to achieve as a team. But that is definitely something you got to be aware of. I only have 2 team rules, and one of them is the team always comes first. And it's real simple. I'm not going to give you a list of 30 team rules. That's overkill. The team always comes first. So we promote that, we push that. I think it's gone pretty well for the most part. You always got to make sure you're trying to give everybody some shine and some love, and I don't ever want to miss out on any opportunities to do that. So I'm pretty cognizant of it and try to stay on top of making sure I'm recognizing as many guys as I can.
I think it's important when it comes from you that's the message. And I can remember I have a very similar talk with guys about the way that our team is going to use social media, and even after losses, how we're going to have a game breakdown and how it's going to be the top 3 scorers. We're not happy with the loss, but we're not going to stop celebrating the good things that happen even within games, because we all know as coaches, just because your team loses doesn't mean it was all negative. There can be good things out of it.
I love what you guys do. Do you have a student do that? Who does your graphics after the game? I've seen those the last week or so, and they're outstanding.
Thanks, man. That I do it on Photoshop. But I have to give a shout out to 2 people. The Midland Christian assistant, Trent. Like he's the one that sent me some of the PSDs, the little files. Our girls coach at school, Hannah St. Pierre, she's phenomenal. So I'm really good at taking something that someone else has created and I can change it and do it. But
Right.
I'm right along with you. I think that stuff is important, and even if a player doesn't come up and say, "Hey, coach, thank you for that," I know that they're seeing it. I know that their families are seeing it, and I think what you said. I mean, if any coach is on the fence about, I don't know if we should do it or not, you have parents from other schools saying, "Hey, our school doesn't do that. We notice what you guys do."
Yep.
And all it takes, that's what I tell anybody, all it takes is my time. That's all it takes is my time, and I'm happy to do
Downside.
that.
I don't see a downside.
Yeah,
You're right. Other than a little bit of effort.
yeah. I had a kid get nominated for Player of the Week, and for our school, that was in our program, it was a really big thing. And but I love that we were in a circle and we're celebrating him, the fact that his name and Grapevine Faith is there. And I had another player step up and say, "Hey guys, just remember this too, like awesome for him." But that's all of us right there.
That's right.
And man, like I kind of got chills like listening to that, and he was right on the money. So a great there, it's definitely possible to
Hey,
celebrate individuals, and alongside of it comes your program with it.
that's right. And we're getting our name. We're private schools. Even outside of basketball, we want students to come to our school. Right? So that marketing is really, really valuable
Yeah.
that we do for our schools and our programs.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. I've been able to talk with a lot of coaches about how they handle defeat uh, directly after a game, in the locker room with their team. But I want to ask you, like, let's just defeat that the game is over. It's the next day, and you've had time to watch the film. You've had time to kind of, decompress. How do you handle that next day practice after a tough loss?
Well, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way. Since I've been at John Paul, I've had very little experience with that.
I was going to say
So
that, but
it's 2 years ago. Our one loss was on a morning of the Mavericks tournament at Thanksgiving, and we played 3 hours later, and we won, and then we just moved on.
yeah,
Last year we had two losses. Unfortunately, one of them was the last game of the season for us, and the other one was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, same as the year before, where we went over to Waxahachie, and we had beaten them the year before, and Coach Gober had his guys, very good team, well coached, fired up, and they kicked our tails. They beat us to 50-50 balls. They out-rebounded us. They outran us, and they really put it on us. And so, the next day is Wednesday, and we got to practice. And then Friday, we had Lancaster at the Hoop Fest at American Airlines Center on Saturday night, the number one 5A team in the state. And I told the guys, I'm like, hey, you want to play at American Airlines Center in front of all those people? The way you played Tuesday, it's going to be a similar result. We broke down film. We figured out some things we really had gotten lax on. And we were really able to even in 2 days' time, we were really able to tighten it up, improve it, become much better defensively. We could always score, but we were getting sloppy on defense, and we were getting away with it, to be honest, which is on me. It's not on the kids, it's on me. And so we corrected those things, and we came out on that Saturday night and had a great game, ended up coming back in the last minute. We hit 4 threes in a row in the last 2 minutes and went from an 8-point deficit to a 4-point win. And I firmly believe, had we not lost on that Tuesday, had we played maybe a lesser program and won, or just not played, I think we would have lost Saturday night. Probably bad, probably the same thing. So it gave us that opportunity. And every loss is an opportunity. We win games. We kind of, okay, we need to do this better, but we move on. We don't really break down every time we lost a loose ball or a rebound. Yeah. When you lose a game like that, you tend to go over every play and really take it to heart on, hey, we got to do better in all of these areas, and here's what we're going to do at practice to approach it. And so the guys, to their credit, they really dug deep and turned it around in a matter of a couple of days' time against another high-level team and had success doing it. So, I mean, that's my big thing is when you lose, you really take a hard look in the mirror and look at your team, and you got practice time to fix it, and we get what we tolerate. If you're going to tolerate losing 50-50 balls and not blocking out and all, then you're going to get it. So that losses are always a great opportunity to refocus and re-energize efforts in areas. I don't call them weaknesses, but areas of improvement.
Sure.
We all
I,
have.
yeah, and I appreciate your transparency. Like you're right. You haven't had to endure the many losses. But there's something else you said that I kind of want to push into is, you could with your schedule, you're playing top programs, so you are going to get pushed and you're going to get better from those games, win or lose. But you can't schedule either in tournaments you're going to wind up playing a team every once in a while that, golly, they're not going to make us better. Like, we could be very bad and still win this game because of the talent that you have. And I think that the awareness that you had about that, and it's a good reminder for all of us that we got to be careful in the big wins, the easy wins, the easy games, that we're not developing bad habits that are going to come back to bite us. So I'm kind of with you. I've in some wins, I haven't really watched the film that close, and thankfully I've got a varsity assistant that the next day will come to me with a few things that, last night I was like, Coach, we won by 30. I thought pretty solid. Like, no, here are some things that are going to really hurt us,
So
and you got to have those people around. But I think that's a good reminder from you.
2 years ago, that happened quite a bit. So my first year on the job, they were good the year before, but not known even in the city, much less the state. And so we kind of had the same schedule as the year before, but we got a lot better. And so we're playing, no disrespecting the schools, but schools that were just overmatched. And so that happened. Last year we were supposed to be in a lot of big events, and that most of them got canceled.
Yeah.
This year we're going to be playing some really, really good teams. I don't anticipate winning 95% of our games when we're going to Vegas for this Arcanian Classic. We're playing in 2 Hoop Fest events. We're going down to Houston, and my good friend Teddy Wheeler down there has scheduled us against the nationally ranked team from the Bronx. So we're going to play some really good teams. So we will probably have more opportunities to experience what we've been talking about. But I love it. I don't want to jump ahead, but one thing I give advice to young coaches all the time, and you got to have the support of your administration. Don't worry about your record in the non-conference or the non-district.
Yeah.
Don't get better. You want to win games, but you can't stress out about the number of wins or losses. Your district is what you're shooting for. Play in some tough tournaments. Play some good teams. So that's one thing I would tell other coaches. Just as long as you have, you don't have to have a winning record to keep your job, which it should be the case. Man, challenge your team, challenge your program. That's the way you're going to get better, and the way you're going to get results in January and February, which is what we're all aiming for.
So you have so many players that play year round, and I think that's what we want as coaches. We want guys that love the game, and multiple sport athletes are great, but it's really nice to have those guys that after our season, they're going to go play against great competition again, hear a different voice with select ball. So you have a lot of those guys. What are some of your off-season expectations for your players that have so much going on?
Right. Well, one of the great things about the program at John Paul, my guys want to play year round, and I don't force it on them. I do have 2 kids who just came over from football. I don't force it on them, but that's what they want. Many of them want to play at the next level, and they know that that's what they want to do. So, my expectations are they should be playing on a appropriate level, which for most of them is a high level AAU program. I don't get involved in their selection of their AAU programs. Most of them have already had that set when they got to me. If they ask for recommendations or opinions, I'm happy to give it to them, but I don't force any. The AAU is their business. It's not mine. But I do want them playing in a program and at a level that pushes them and challenges them, and where they can grow and become better players. And I love supporting them when they do that.
Yeah.
I'll go. I don't interfere. I grab some popcorn and a Diet Coke, and I watch and I cheer. And I try to meet the coach and tell him, great job. Appreciate everything you're doing with these boys. And, I want to work side by side with AAU coaches, because both AAU and high school are very important in the boys' development. Outside of AAU, we do stuff. We have an athletic period that's year round. So we're going to be doing, in the off season, we'll do a little bit more in the weight room and less, offenses and defenses. But we'll be doing basketball stuff year round at school. We played in the spring league last year. We did a little bit of summer stuff this summer. But again, I try to respect their time with AAU. We did some stuff in June, played in that TABC event at the end of June. But then once July hit, I'm done. I'm hands off. You guys got your big peach jams and your big events that you're going to, man, have at it. Have a great time. I'll see you in August.
You still open the gym during that time, or you just kind of say, hey, we're shutting it down for July and you guys take a break from me, everything?
We don't do anything organized in July. I've had some kids this summer, coach, is the gym open? I want to get on the gun. Yeah. I'll be up there. I'll make sure you can get in the ball rack, whatever. I'll help you out. But we don't do any organized practices. We do in June. We would get together on Friday mornings and one other day where I could get a bunch of them just to stay sharp and certainly so we could get ready for that event. But in July, I don't do anything organized. I kind of let them, if they want to just step away and take a break, that's fine. I do think there's a lot of value in that when you're going basically 12 months out of the year to take weeks off. But like I said, a lot of them that's when the heart of their AAU season is and all the big events are. So they're getting plenty of basketball in.
Yeah. Your spring league. So with select basketball really gearing up at that point, how do you manage that? Because I had spring league going for a little while and then with having more guys playing, it's like I just felt that I didn't want them to feel friction between what we're doing with the school. You're not letting me down if you have practice, or I don't want you to miss practice and get in a bad place for spring league. So how do you kind of juggle that?
It is a challenge. So I probably wouldn't have done it, but Plano High School, which is about a mile from our high school, started doing a spring league, and their JV coach was my assistant at Cistercian for 10 years and took over and I left. Craig Sklar, you probably know Craig.
Yeah.
And he's back. He's at Plano now. So
that's awesome.
He got that started and talked him into letting us in. And but you're right. I had 10 guys signed up and we might have 6 for a game. I got a chemistry test tomorrow, coach. I got, this or that, whatever. And I try to be I am as nice as I can be about it. I'm like, I don't sweat spring league games. I'm just giving y'all an opportunity to play. So they did them on Monday nights. So the AAU wasn't a real big, it wasn't a real big fight for the time because they don't usually practice on Mondays. But there were other things, and there were 1 or 2 nights I was like, oh, is this worth it? But for the 5 or 6 that go, it's worth it.
Yeah. And it may give an opportunity for some of those guys that aren't playing on such a high level or maybe younger that you're excited for the future to get to see them a little bit more. So good opportunity for them.
Absolutely. And they get to, possibly play in roles that they haven't been playing in before and handle different responsibilities, which can always be good for them.
Yeah. Coaches, the one thing that every team needs is confident shooters. The last 8 years at Grapevine Faith, our teams have averaged 354 made threes each season. I love getting to share with coaches how our shooters train and, more importantly, how they think. If you would like to enhance your shooting culture at your school, contact me directly at jamodipodcast@gmail.com. What's one thing that you would do differently if you could start over in coaching?
Well, one thing, and I tell my kids this, I had a coach several years back tell me, say little after wins and less after losses. And that is such a pearl of wisdom. A lot of you'll see young coach, or not just young coaches, but any coach, they may sit there and talk for 30 minutes after a game. Kids don't want to hear it right then. You don't have a clear perspective right then. I distinctly remember, this is probably 15, 20 years ago at Cistercian, we lost a close game. I got really upset with one of my players. I don't remember who. I'm sure he does. And I lit into him after the game. And I went home and I watched the film. And after watching the film, I was like, the film isn't what I remembered. My mind was playing tricks on me. It wasn't as bad as I thought. He didn't do the things I thought, and I felt horrible. And I apologized to him in front of the team the next day. And I said, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. I mean, there's a reason we all have a 24-hour rule with our parents, right? We want everybody to cool down and get a perspective and not talk when you're passionate and upset or, whatever right after a game, which can happen. Same thing with us as coaches. Take a deep breath, watch the film, get a little perspective, come back the next day when you can probably be more constructive. Doesn't mean you're not going to, correct kids or get on them about things they effort, X's and O's, whatever. But I really do think sometimes our mind tricks us and we
Yeah.
think we see something. It's kind of like, people in the lineup that pick out a criminal and then they find out later that person wasn't even there. Their mind tricks them. You hear about that stuff. And I do think it happens to coaches. And I was guilty of that. And half the time, I don't even take the kids up to the locker room. We gather right behind the bench after a game and I say, man, hey, good effort, good job. We're going to watch the film tomorrow. We're going to come practice, and we got so-and-so on Friday night. We're going to get ready for them. You guys enjoy your evening. Go say hello to your parents and loved ones, and I'll see you tomorrow. And that's about it. And it has actually made me more relaxed after games to not dissect and not try to analyze.
Yeah, or think that you have to perform in some way, that you have to come up with something to really help them. Majority of players after a loss or even a win, they know the things that they did wrong. And most of them are focusing on those things only, even after a good game. And I can't tell you the amount of times where I've left a game thinking we really stunk it up. And after watching the game that night, having optimism of, you know what, like we're not that far. Like we're closer. And so I think your wisdom, it's so smart to not say something damaging after, and then be able to circle back around and give them that news that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That is definitely, and honestly, pregame talks too.
Yeah.
We're all, we've all watched the movies and heard the coaches' pregame talks, and my pregame talks are really pretty short. Every once in a while, I'll try to give them something motivational, but for the most part, I'll go over any new sets we put in, any sets the opponent has. Don't forget about this guy likes to get to this spot, whatever. Hey, let's go get him. 1, 2, 3, go cards, and that's it. The day when I was younger, I would try every game. I had to prepare an elaborate, pregame speech to get them fired up and ready to go. And the older I've gotten, hey, your preparation comes in practice. It doesn't come 5 minutes before you take the court.
Yeah, and the problem is too is we play 35 games. Like golly, you don't have that much magic. I mean, if you have 35 different stories that you think are all going to inspire them in that moment,
bullets.
Charles Freet, old Flower Mound coach, was a kind of a mentor of mine. He was at the Colony for a little while when I was there. He said 3 minutes before the game, 3 minutes at halftime, 3 minutes after the game. That's all you get. And I think that's really good. Tyler Costin, I had him on here. He said, no pregame, very short halftime, no postgame, let them go. So I think you're right on the money. I think everybody is moving that direction, and I think it's a good direction.
Absolutely. The Hoosier pregame speeches don't happen very often.
Let's go. I mean, it's great TV but
great theater.
Yeah, we do at home. We do a little bit. We'll do a highlight film of. I want them to, kind of a Pete Carroll thing. I want them to be thinking about all of the good things that they've done. So a highlight film from the last game, win or lose, good stuff. And that's to me is more valuable than anything I could say. So I think a lot of coaches know you already. I'm excited to know you even better with the speed round. So these are short questions. First thing that pops in your head, right out.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookie two-step. That's my boys and my favorite.
Cookie two-step. Coach, where do you get that? Where? I've never heard of it.
The Bluebell.
Bluebell, it's a cookie. It's a Bluebell.
Maybe I got it wrong. It's two something, cookie two something. It might not be two-step.
It sounds good.
It's the half cookies and cream.
Oh.
And half something else.
I bet you're right. I bet you're right.
Two-step. But yeah, check it out. If you like Bluebell, you'll love it.
Love it. I already know this answer, but for high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Absolutely. We quick anecdote there. We played high school at Dickies Arena at the Battle last January, and we're warming up for the game. the director comes over to me and says, "Coach, this game's on TV. They're insisting we do a shot clock." I said, "Okay,
Yes.
that's great." And the final score was 86-84. Neither team even came close to a shot clock violation. The only thing I wish is I could have tweaked a little defensive philosophy. Maybe you do a half court trap, maybe something just to try to shorten their possession.
Yeah.
But it was fine. Both of us found out in pregame warm up, but love the shot clock. SPC has actually approved it. I was SPC for 20 years and president for 9, and we talked about it. They just approved it a week ago for next year. So
awesome.
That's a big step because
Brackle thinks it's going to happen. He's fighting really hard for it.
Yeah. I'd love it. I'm behind it 100%.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun. And we're the only place in the world that doesn't use it. So
that's right.
Texting or talking?
Talking for relationships. Texting certainly has its place.
Yeah. I like that.
I learned years ago, stop emailing kids. They don't even check email.
That's right.
Text them, they'll reply.
Yeah.
So I certainly text there, but hey, anything important. Text is kind of for information. It's not really to get into a deep dive with your kids or any type of relationship. Talking would be number one for sure.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Invisibility. I'll say it again.
My birthday's close to Christmas, so just the whole holiday time.
There you go.
I like it.
Invisibility or super strength?
I think super strength.
I'll
go with super strength.
Yeah. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Oh gosh. For sports, I think I'd like to go to the 60s. And so my son is a college baseball player. I just graduated from JP2 last year, and there was some great baseball going on in the 60s with the pitching and some of the people I read about when I was a kid, and then basketball with Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, those great Celtics teams, and then it kind of bled into the Lakers teams, and it was just a totally different game.
Yeah,
I would like to just go and watch, in football, the toughness and they barely wore a face mask.
Yeah.
And, guys playing both ways still, and it was just it's so different now. I don't know if we're so different from 20 years ago, but from the 60s, it's like they're totally different game.
Yeah, I love that really answer.
Cool. And baseball, if you look at anything from like the 30s or 40s, the gentlemen wore hats and suits. And that's always struck me as, can you imagine now going to a Ranger game and everybody's in a suit, and dresses, they got the hanging on the rails, and I don't know when that changed. I'd like to know when that changed, but all the old shots of baseball, they were jackets and ties and hats to the games, which that's fascinating to me.
I love that. It made me think of I'd love to go watch a Pistol Pete college game.
Oh gosh,
I think that would have been So that's a great answer.
He did with the ball. Scoring 44 points a game without a 3-point line.
would have been 60. Yeah. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
0.
Never have been a coffee guy?
No, my mom asked me one time, and I think I was in my 20s, when are you going to grow up and drink coffee? And I said, I don't think I'll get a Starbucks with whipped cream and caramel, and it's more of a dessert.
It's sugar.
Or just straight coffee. I'd prefer a cold Diet Coke than a coffee.
Nice. All right, last one, probably the most important one. Godfather or Star Wars?
Godfather. I love mob movies.
Favorite? What's your favorite?
Probably Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I love the whole motif of Goodfellas, and taking it from when he was a kid all the way to when he went into witness protection, and the prison scene where they're cooking all that great food, and makes me hungry every time I watch it. But I love Goodfellas. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
Coach, I've been, you and I haven't had a lot of personal interactions over the years, but I've been able to obviously watch your teams, and what's cool is, like, I've known about, and sometimes when you hear or you just see the talent that's on teams, and if you don't know the coach very well, you just always wonder, is it just the talent? I mean, you can't help but go there, all the success they're having, but it's really cool to get to talk with you tonight and learn from you, and I just think you're the real deal. And I just really enjoyed this time. I got a lot out of it, and I appreciate you.
I've been on both ends of the spectrum, not very talented kids and having to squeeze every possession out of them. And then having really talented kids that there's a skill to letting them do their thing. There's a skill to letting them play. It's not just rolling the balls out.
Yeah.
And you got to have relationships. You got to have relationships. I know we're about out of time. I won't go too deep into that, but you have to build relationships with the kids so they feel it. And they're feeling good. Jalen Tyson was going to leave John Paul before I got there. And I'm not saying that I was anything special to him, but we built a relationship, and he grew so much from junior year on nobody's radar, no rankings, no colleges. And then boom, by Christmas, he gets offered by Texas Tech. TCU's later that night. Kruger from OU comes to watch him. He drops in 44 in front of Kruger. They offer, and then it was off to the races. But Jalen grew up and matured, and he and I had a great bond. We still do to this day. And I love watching his development. But it's not just that. You've got to reach your kids, and relationship is every bit as important as X's and O's.
Okay. And yeah, I think you're right on the money, and we're not out of time or anything. We can keep going. Give me some keys. I feel like I have good relationship with my players, but there's always a part of me that's wondering, like, is there something I can be doing more or better to reach them? And so what are some things that you feel like helps you to create such strong bonds?
But one thing, and I learned this from my very first boss in this business at Cistercian, the late Tom Hiller, is you talk to kids about other things than what you're doing on the court or on the field. Ask them what they're interested. Find out what their interests are. What TV shows they like. What are their hobbies? And try to build something outside of basketball that way. Also, stay in touch with them outside of the season. A lot of times, coach, hey, the season's over. I'll see you in a couple of months or whenever summer league starts or what. Stay in touch with them then. Shoot them a text sometime. Hey, are you watching the Maverick game? Did you see that play Luka just made? Stuff like that. I try to do extra with my guys. Not even just the super players, but the eighth man. Hey, Matt, you had a great practice. I'll shoot him a text at night. You were really getting after it. I noticed that. Keep up the good work. People say you'll remember. I still remember distinctly something that a junior high coach said to me, and that was freaking 40 years ago or whatever, right? If they said it either good or bad,
yeah,
still remember that. And I've tried to take that to heart because I know I have said negative things before, and I'm sure kids remember it. And I'm trying to do way more positive that they'll remember. It's going to stick with them a lot longer than it sticks with us as coaches. So just a little comment you make after a game or after a practice or some other time, they're going to remember, and it can make their day. It can make their week. And sometimes I think we forget the power that we have as their coaches and mentors. That they really, really buy into what we're saying, and it's so important to them. And it's just a little thing for us to do to really foster that.
It's huge. Man, I appreciate you sharing that. That's
Sure.
And again, like I said, I thank you for your time tonight, and it was awesome.
Absolutely. I love visiting with you. I love talking shop, and we'll do it again sometime down the road. And I'll be following the Lions this year.
Yes, sir. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.